Think about the people in your phone right now. The ones you'd actually text if something went wrong tonight. Now be honest with yourself. How many of them would still be there in 5 years? Not because they moved, not because life got busy, because the friendship itself wasn't built to last. Most men figure this out the hard way, usually around 30, when they look around and realize half their friends were just people they happened to be near. Today, we're going to fix that. Not with vibes, but with an actual framework. One that's over 2,000 years old and still more accurate than anything you'll find in a self-help book. That framework comes from Aristotle, writing in the 4th century BC in a work called the Nicomachean Ethics. And here's why this matters. Aristotle didn't write about friendship as a nice-to-have, some soft add-on to a good life. He treated it as one of the most serious subjects in the entire book. He actually spends more space on friendship than he does on justice. His reasoning was simple. No one would choose to live without friends, even if they had every other good thing in life. Money, power, health. None of it means much if there's no one to share it with. So he sat down and asked a very practical question. What actually makes a friendship work, and why do most of them fall apart? What he came up with is a system that sorts every friendship you've ever had into one of 3 categories. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Aristotle starts from a basic idea. We don't befriend people randomly. We befriend people because of something in them that we find good, or useful, or enjoyable. And depending on which of those 3 it is, you get a completely different kind of friendship, with a completely different lifespan. The first type is friendship based on utility. This is a friendship that exists because each person gets something out of it. Aristotle's own examples were things like business partners or people who trade favors. In our world, think coworkers who get lunch together, a guy you know because you both go to the same gym and spot each other, a business contact who takes your calls because you're useful to his network. Nothing wrong with this. Aristotle isn't looking down on it. He just points out something important. The moment the usefulness disappears, the friendship usually disappears with it. You change jobs, you stop training at that gym, the deal falls through, and the relationship quietly ends because the thing holding it together was never the person, it was what the person provided. The second type is friendship based on pleasure. This one is built on enjoyment. You like being around this person because they're fun, funny, exciting, good company. Aristotle actually associated this type especially with young men, and if you think about it, that tracks. Most friendships in your teens and 20s form this way. You bond over a shared interest, a party scene, a sense of humor that clicks. The problem, Aristotle says, is the same as with utility friendships. The bond is attached to a feeling, not to the actual character of the other person. And feelings change. People change. What was fun at 22 can feel exhausting at 30. So these friendships tend to dissolve the moment the fun stops being fun, or the moment your lives stop overlapping enough to keep having those good times together. Now here's where it gets interesting. Aristotle says there's a third type, the rare one, friendship based on virtue, sometimes translated as friendship based on character, or the good. This is a friendship where you don't like the other person for what they give you, and you don't like them just for how they make you feel. You like them for who they are, for their character. You respect how they think, how they carry themselves, how they treat people, the kind of man they're trying to become. And because you both essentially want good things for each other, not because of some transaction, but because you actually care about the other person's life going well, This type of friendship tends to also be useful and also be enjoyable. But those things are side effects, not the foundation. The foundation is mutual respect for who the other person actually is. And here's the part Aristotle is very clear about. This third kind of friendship is rare, and it takes time. You cannot rush it. He makes the point that you basically have to eat salt together, spend real time through real situations, before you can even know if someone has the kind of character worth that level of trust. There's no shortcut. A utility friendship can form in a single conversation. A pleasure friendship can form over one good night out. But a virtue friendship, the kind that survives distance, disagreement, hard seasons of life, that only gets built slowly, through consistency, over years.
So let's bring this into your actual life, because this isn't abstract. Look at your group chat. Look at the guys you see most often. Ask yourself, honestly, is this a utility friendship, a pleasure friendship, or a virtue friendship? A lot of men build their entire social circle out of the first two categories, and then feel confused when they hit a real crisis. A breakup, a job loss, a death in the family, and suddenly, nobody's calling. That's not bad luck. That's the mathematical result of the kind of friendships you built. Utility friends have no reason to show up when you're no longer useful. Pleasure friends have no reason to show up when things stop being fun. This shows up everywhere in modern male life. Think about the guy who has a huge network, but nobody he can actually call at 2 a.m. Think about the friend group that's built entirely around drinking, or gaming, or a shared hobby. And the second one guy gets married, or gets serious about his career. The group quietly falls apart, because the entire bond was situational. This is also why so many men in their 30s and 40s describe feeling isolated even though they're surrounded by people. They built quantity, not the third category. And Aristotle's whole point is that quantity was never really the goal. He actually argues that virtue friendships can't be spread across dozens of people because they require too much of your time and attention. You genuinely cannot have 30 close friends in this sense. He'd say, if you have 2 or 3, you're doing well. Now here's where people usually get this wrong, and it's worth correcting, because otherwise this turns into a lazy takeaway. A lot of guys hear this framework and immediately conclude that utility and pleasure friendships are somehow fake, or beneath them, or not worth having. That's not what Aristotle is saying at all. He's clear that all 3 types are real friendships, and all 3 are valuable in their own way. You need people who are useful to you. You need people who are fun to be around. Life would be miserable without either. The mistake isn't having those friendships. The mistake is expecting them to give you something they were never built to give. You can't get virtue-level loyalty out of a gym buddy you've known for 2 months. And it's not fair to be disappointed when he doesn't show up for you the way a 20-year friend would. The real skill here isn't cutting people off. It's knowing which category a friendship is actually in, so you know what to expect from it, and so you can recognize the rare ones worth actually investing in over years, not just enjoying in the moment. So if there's one thing to take from Aristotle here, it's this. A friendship built on what someone gives you will only last as long as they keep giving it. But a friendship built on who someone is can outlast almost anything. If this gave you something to actually think about, consider subscribing. This channel is built around ideas like this one, old, tested, and still true.